Jackie. I mean, you're wearing, yeah, I think, do you have your name on your scrubs and everything?
Yeah, I actually do have my name and my
Okay.
degrees on my scrubs.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty
so
special.
just a quick update of where I am. I'm actually in the 4th month of my intern year. You're still muted?
No, I was the only one muted. They could hear you,
fantastic.
not me. So the first part of this episode is nothing.
This is a good professional start to things.
Yeah, this is what happens when we take 6-8 weeks off.
We haven't missed a beat, except we kind of have.
Except, yeah, and so I was gonna say too. So before Jackie gets into her thing, Jordan, Jackie, and I have not had a chance to catch up. So all our reactions that you on the podcast are gonna miss of our incredibly amazing shocked faces, we actually don't know each other's news. I know a little bit of Jordan's. I don't know any of Jackie's, so this is going to be fun. Okay, Jackie, get back into it. Let's hear what you've been doing the past 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, whatever.
Yeah, so I am in the 4th month of my intern year out here in California. Enjoying it. You guys can see I'm in my scrubs. I've got my name here, so it's official. Actually been getting to do some outdoor riding now that the weather's cooled down. We tried Mount Baldy as featured in Tour de California last week. Unfortunately, we only made it halfway up before John's bike decided not to cooperate and essentially would not shift. So turned around, but we've got plans to revisit it this weekend. Not going to let a good climb defeat us. But in more racing news, starting to transition back to racing, going to be able to hit only one race of this season's Zwift Premier League, unfortunately. I will be there Monday, and then I transition to nights, and I'll be working in the ICU and sleeping during the day like most normal people. So unfortunately, my Zwift racing will be pretty limited. However, RGT, when it kicks off in December, I will be there for most of that. Schedule just worked out, so starting to get back in the race of things, do some just drop-in mixed races on Zwift, having fun, trying to balance, professional life with the racing life, and just navigating however that comes.
Yeah, for real, right? Well, that's awesome. I mean, I'm sorry to hear you're only doing one Premier League race, but you're going to be doing Echelon Series, right?
Yes,
and you get to race. Your one race is on a Japan course, so that's kind of interesting, right?
Yeah. Looking forward to it. I mean, I think, the mixed races that I've been dropping into have been very, very different than my experience racing, primarily women. The power spreads are much different. The size of the field is much different. So I think it'll just be fun to come back and really drop into a different sort of race than I've seen in months. So kind of excited, kind of nervous. We'll see what happens.
It's gonna be a big bad sprint, and you're gonna win. So that's what's gonna happen.
I'm working on it. I have actually specifically been working on the sprint.
I knew this was coming. No, hold on, Jordan. Hold on. Listen, this is Jackie. She's slowly winding this crank up. Go ahead, Jackie. Just keep going. She sent me a text a while ago, and I think I just straight refused to respond. I just ghosted Jackie on a text. So go ahead.
Yeah, let me see if I can find the exact text here.
Yeah.
Yep, because we were talking about this on our last episode of who was going to hit that 10-second, 4 digits, and I actually did. This was, me just making sure all my power equipment worked before the power verification ride for Zwift, actually.
Just tell them the number, Jackie. It's like 1 billion watts.
1102. 1102 for 10 seconds.
Not a little bit over 1,000. A lot.
So we do this thing. She's like, "Oh, I'm 952," and then the next week or whatever, I got like 966. I'm like, I'm gonna beat Jackie. And then like 2 weeks later, she's like, "Oh, 1102." I think I was just like, "No, I'm just not even gonna talk about this anymore. I'm gonna pretend."
I don't know if anybody's handicapping the Premier League, but Rick, you're a gambler. I'm saying 11 to 10 on Jackie.
Oh,
like that. That's the best odds you're getting. think it's pretty much a done deal.
I mean, are you still in good shape, Jackie, with all the work and everything? Have you been able to keep working out?
So yes,
Is that a real question, Rick?
I'm in good power shape, but unfortunately, we got a weight rack about 2 months ago. So my weight is nowhere near where it was for Worlds last year. I have put on several kilograms
Sort of
of
muscle.
climbing muscle.
It's
Yes.
the flattest. It's the flattest of all the courses, though. So
Yeah,
It's
so
actually
I'm
surprisingly,
happy
it's
a flat
not.
course.
There's more elevation gain on this than there was figure eight reverse.
oh yeah, it's pretty. Oh yeah, you get a nice roll up to the village, though. I
it's-
rode that the other day.
I
think
raced it
that-
the other day, and it's
Yeah.
basically like it's like easier than the volcano climb. But it just takes forever.
Yeah,
It's
you'll get it. Yeah, I'm saying 11 to 10, maybe. Yeah, that's the best odds.
There's
yeah.
not another woman who can
No
put down over
pressure. No
1,000
pressure.
watts, right?
Well, I guess you have to count. Maybe you could have a dropout or something, but other than that, that's it. It's a done deal.
I mean,
Oh my goodness.
seriously though, there's not another woman who can put out over 1,000 watts. I don't think. I mean, I think they can probably match you maybe watt per kilogram, but
Yeah,
Well, I think
I mean, women
particularly because it
exist.
is,
right, to
it
be
is a
clear.
course. Like
in Zwift,
we haven't raced Zwift in months. I think there's a lot of strategy. So I think there's a huge advantage to people that have kept, that final sprint timing up, who have really been practicing the draft, because, you can only go a 900-watt sprint, 1,000-watt sprint if you're totally fresh.
yeah.
And you're just going to get that arrow power up and keep it, even if you get it on the first thing, right? You just
Yeah.
have to have it. You have
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
because it's like a downhill run. You're going to be going like 70K an hour. I'll watch. It'll be good.
It is going to be on GCN. I saw.
Oh boy, yeah.
Fancy.
fun.
Oh, Jackie, fancy pants.
Yeah, Jackie's like, I didn't know about that. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Good times, ready to go. Well, that'll be one more Premier League race than I'll do this season because I am not going to race it.
Here we go.
Yeah, there's no Worlds this fall. There's nothing to build up to, and on the Zwiftosphere, who knows what's happening with Worlds? We can talk about that later. But yeah, so I won't be. I've been starting to race just as part of my training, just for a little intensity variation. And I've been racing just like random races with like 50 people, and it's actually fun again because I'm not getting my teeth kicked in from moment zero, and I can actually like attack and do a little bit. I'm still getting killed on the flats, but that's another story. I came 5th in a race the other day, so I was pretty pleased with that. Yeah. No, I will look forward to watching you in the Premier League, and then maybe we'll both be on the echelon thing later on.
But why aren't you racing Premier League at all, Jordan?
Well, number one is I don't want to.
Okay.
And it just wasn't that it wasn't that good of an experience the 2 seasons up there. I didn't score any points. I don't think I'm actually that useful in its current formatting. I can't sprint, so all these things come down to a sprint. There's one hilltop finish in the second season where I potentially could have got points and I still didn't. The level is super high, and I just I'm not built for that as a rider. Obviously on the road I can do well, and in the current and different formats of Zwift racing, like Joe Martin, Gila, and in Worlds, actually, I could do well. It just whatever the recipe is in the Premier League, I couldn't find success, and so yeah, I don't want to take up a spot, and I can't commit. I'm not in great shape. I took some time off after the road season. With Worlds in December of last year, I basically trained through all of 2020. Getting back after my big crash, all of 2020, hoping there'd be road racing, then kept going all through the winter to Worlds, then had like a week off, then Premier League through January. Then we had actual racing this summer. So I almost had 2 years of constant up. So I'm slowing it down. I'm going to take a more low key fall. And part of that doesn't include doing 5.5 watts a kilo for an hour with Premier League. So we'll be on Zwift. It's snowing where I am up in BC on the mountains. So I've been on Zwift quite a bit, enjoying being back at it. But yeah, I won't be racing there. But I think I will be racing RGT. So I guess this is my portion now.
This is what I was trying. I was like, oh, why aren't you going to be doing Premier League, Jordan? This is his news. I just want.
Yeah.
Then I was like, are you even going to say it? Are we doing?
Yeah,
Let's hear it.
no, this is hasn't been announced yet, but it will be shortly. I'm going to be on a new professional team for 2021, and it happens to be the same team that runs the Echelon Racing series. So, yeah, I'll be on Project Echelon. I think that'll be on Cycling News in the next week or so. I don't think our audience crosses over big time with pro cycling, so I'm not worried about letting the cat out of the bag there. But yeah, coming on, Elevate kind of came to a close after 4 good years there. Going to a leadership role again, Echelon. They've already signed some of the best young guys. We'll be racing all over North America and in Europe, which is huge for me because I've actually never gone to Europe racing. So this is a big step up, and again, part of it is the RGT racing, and I was excited about it before when Eric was on here talking about it, and then you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Good.
Yeah,
Oh.
keep going. Oh, he can't
Lost
hear
the
us.
connection.
He can't hear us. Okay, well. Yeah. So anyways, and he dropped off, and that makes the view goofy. Jordan, can you hear
Sorry.
us now? No, we could hear you the whole time.
Oh,
Is that a picture of you
I
as a
couldn't hear
baby?
you.
That's adorable.
Is
Sorry.
that picture of Jordan as a baby? Is that his Discord thing?
Yeah, that's me. My first bicycle, the tricycle, which is funny. I was on that thing when I was 2 on the driveway. I didn't learn to ride a bike till I was 9, though. So it was a bit of a. Anyway, where was I? We got the RGT. I'm
Yeah.
going to be contractually obligated to be on it. And actually, I have to thank the show because when we had Eric on here, that was sort of the jumping off point of me making that thing happen for next year. So yeah, fully. I don't know how much RGT will be doing, but like I'm already excited to get into it, regardless of the team. But being on the inside there, I think it'll be great, and we'll obviously be able to get Eric on here a little bit more often to chat about the series. So
Yeah. So I mean, I think the main message I heard out of all that is, if you want to get on a professional cycling team, just come on the show.
right.
I mean, that's
Do
basically
like
all you
20,
need.
do like 20 episodes for no pay, and then you will have a connection.
Yeah,
No,
so-
it's true though. I think it was definitely a good thing. Opened that door for sure. So yeah, so that's probably my biggest news. Yeah, so that'll be. I'm not officially on that team until January 1. But we'll be getting the new bike and the new kit and all that fun stuff. And also moving to Tucson, we have an offer in and accepted on a house down there. So we'll definitely be in Tucson this winter.
Nice.
Yeah, and there's lots of space. So we'll be having, people come and visit and have camps and stuff.
Me and
And
Jackie?
yeah,
We're gonna visit.
yeah. Yeah, if you want, I mean, Jackie's already somewhere where it's nice, but Rick, I mean, if you want to get out of the snow,
But would I have to ride my bike outside, or can we just Zwift or RGT together?
yeah, right. There's going to be a Zwift room, so don't
Okay,
worry.
yeah, I
You don't have to
don't-
be too
It's gonna-
far out.
No. There's not going to be a Zwift room. There's going to be a virtual cycling room. We got to get out
That's
of this.
right. I have to rearrange my
Yeah,
vocabulary
it's not Kleenex.
Go to. Yes.
Hey,
Yeah.
Just go for generic pain cave.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
right.
like him.
Except when you tell non-cycling people that, they get the wrong idea. So,
It's like 50 Shades of Grey.
yes, exactly. So, not what you think. Pain Cave. Yeah, so that's exciting. We're in the nice real estate process right now, which is just mortgages and just so much fun. If you're on the podcast, you can see me rolling my eyes. But yeah, we sold our house here in Canada as well. Not contingent on each other, but it just so happened. So yeah, brave new world for us. I just turned 30 last week, so
Happy birthday.
becoming an adult very quickly.
Man,
Yes.
look at that. 30. Pretty old.
Yeah, no, the wrinkles they've started.
Yeah, I know.
I still get
It's
cards.
just helmet lines. It's helmet lines. They're not wrinkles. They're just where your helmet's pressing in.
Yes, I have the smile lines because I smile so much.
So I'm
yeah.
a solid 10 years older than you, Jordan.
Yes. And how does that feel? Because these last 10 years went by like this, so I'm just, I'll be there in a minute.
It depends if you have kids in the next 10 years. And then it's because I mean, like they say that time feels like it goes slower when you have new experiences. So when you have kids, a lot of new experiences, you're
Yes. That's,
you're
I think that's
touching other people.
I got to live vicariously through someone,
Yeah.
and I just
Right.
can't, my oh, my dog can't be a professional bike racer when he grows up. So, you know,
And that's what I keep telling people. It's like, because my son is very into soccer, and I'm like, look, we got to make this work because we're not saving any money for college.
yes.
So,
Yeah.
you
Yes.
better get a scholarship. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm going to tell you. So,
Emily's here working overtime because Formula One is a very expensive sport to get your kid in.
yeah, I
So,
used to race
you know,
go-karts. I can get you
when
hooked
it,
up.
yeah, when it pays off though, like I
Yeah.
won't ever have to work again.
It's
So
got to be like 1 in 5, 1 in 10 who make it too.
yeah,
So that's what they say.
you just like rolling a pair of dice and your number comes up and your kid's Lewis Hamilton. So that's, I think that's how it goes. So anyway, yeah, it'll be a good decade ahead. The twenties were pretty rough there for the last couple of years, but in the last month of my 20s, we turned it around. We got a new house, we got a new team, so it was good. It's been good times.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Meanwhile, I was actually on pediatrics last month, and you're talking about kids. And I swear to God, every time, I did the well child, like, come on, you got to wear your helmet every time I ride a bike, I would get so much pushback. There's actually this one, like, 7-year-old kid. He's like, do you even bike? And I was like, yes. Yes. Let me show you a picture. And so I told him, like, story of I'm racing, and like I go over the handlebars and like I crack my helmet, and that was the difference between finishing the race on getting an award and going home in an ambulance. And he just looks at me, he's like, yeah, well, have you ever mountain biked? Like, the level of sass. And I just look at him and I'm like, do you want to see my scars?
Yes.
And and like all of a sudden he like looks at his mom and he's like, no. I'm like, don't do this. Like, and it's like it's that age group. It's that 8 to 13-year-old boys that just does not want to take any advice from like the female doctor. Same thing. Like, they come in with like an ankle sprain, and I'm like, you're not going to be able to walk on that for like a couple weeks. And they're like, no, like, I'm tougher than you think. And I'm like, I have sprained so many ankles in the last year, but you can try to be tough, but I'll see you in 2 days with you crying.
I think you need to add professional cyclists to the group of 8 to 13, because I would do that as well. Yes.
8 to 13-year-olds and professional cyclists.
Yeah, I was doing hot laps of the hospital ward with a chest tube in, saying, I'll be ready. I got a race in a month and a half. I'll be ready. You just watch.
Yeah. So my mentor, Dr. Rice, she was actually one of the assistant directors at Northwestern where I did my training. She was a triathlete and a professional domestique for a while, like really, really good. She was the one that like took me out and, taught me some of the stuff before my first crit race. At a research lab, like I said, like really, really high level cyclist, triathlete, researcher, eventually did a career change, went into physical therapy. And everybody was like, oh my goodness, you're so well suited to work with athletes. And she's just like, no, they're the worst. They will not do a single thing you tell them. I am working with kids. It's like, I want people who follow my instructions.
So we're actually lower than the children. So
yeah,
right.
No, that is all athletes are like that, where they do just tons and tons of dumb stuff.
Well, Rick, speaking of dumb stuff, what have you been up to?
Yeah, let's talk. Okay, so since we stopped, I have had 2 job changes. I had quit my old job. I didn't have a new job totally lined up. It was like 90%, but my kids' school needed a principal to get their school year started. So I was a principal for 4 weeks, even though I'm a mechanical engineer by degree. And now I'm working at a decarbonization startup. So that's super cool. It's very fun and fulfilling, and I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, two job changes. I mean, really kind of like one, but I mean, I guess some background on what's been going on. I mean, obviously I've been super busy, which has made it hard to schedule a show and everything, which, I mean, thank you for everyone who reached out and asked what was going on. A lot of people noticed I wasn't doing the recon videos and all that. So I've been taking a lot of time and kind of reconsidering no breakaways and what it is, what we want to do here. I mean, it's a very community focused channel. The idea has always been to get virtual cycling, tips and tricks, specifically for Zwift when I started, because, I just didn't understand any of the other ones. But in all that, which has been great, it's been wonderful getting to know everybody. Um, what I've kind of seen is Zwift just stagnate on the racing side. Um, I I've heard multiple people say that they took the entire summer off and they come back and it's just the exact same. Um, which is really honestly, it's just been really disappointing to me. And you're trying to set up the match races, which I absolutely loved doing. Working with Zwift has been just unbelievably difficult. It would take 2 to 3 weeks of constant emailing to try to get just this goofy little event set up. And I saw the TFC Mad Mondays the other day posted on Facebook that they'd worked for like a month or two trying to get their thing set up and they couldn't. And it ended up getting set up at the very last minute. But I just don't feel like Zwift is taking care of their racers, to be honest.
And that was 300 riders, you said too, right? That's not a little race.
20 teams set up.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody just put, I've decided we need to make a change. No, it's called Yes Breakaways. I like that. No, like
All going to be on RGT. It will be.
So like, we're going to keep the name of the channel. I love that you chimed in. But like, I don't feel like Zwift has supported the racers. And like, I think it's something like 70-80% of the people on Zwift don't race. I think that's the number, something like that. And I totally understand. I get it. But here's the thing. The racers are the most hardcore people. I know I've personally got 4 or 5 people on Zwift. I bet each of you two have. Every racer I know has gone out to other people and tried to get them on. And the people that I got on don't race. So it's not like we're just going to, but the most hardcore user group, and I would bet you 80% of the time spent on Zwift is by people who race. And I'm not saying I'm just going to stop Zwifting or anything like that, but if the platform isn't improving on some things that are pretty universally agreed need help, then it's really hard to spend the course recon videos. And I love the DWTRL and Sherpa Dave and Cyber Bradley. I forgot it. I don't know how to say his last. They do excellent recon videos, and I felt like they had it covered. And it was taking me 4, 5, 6 hours a week trying to do those videos, and it's all time away from my family and stuff. And it's like, if I felt like Zwift was working with the community, not just me, because okay, you don't want to set up a match race with 12 people. I understand it to a degree, but doing it with TFC and just nothing's changing. You look at the schedule and there's a million races with nobody in it.
That's correct. Yeah,
right?
That's that coming back. And like racers are a smaller percentage of the total on Zwift, but that doesn't matter. This is more of a racing channel, right? No Breakaways is talking about racing. Yeah. So if the racing ain't good, then the channel ain't gonna be very good either. And like, yeah, I agree. Going back to the races, I love just being in the races, but I feel like nothing is improved. The drafting still sucks. Like, I'm really upset about that. But no, and it's like, this is the big benefit of virtual racing is how far it can go and how much it can develop, and they're not developing. Whereas when we talk to Eric and RGT, like, there's so much going on and they're talking to racers and there's stuff that we can talk about on this show. Whereas Zwift right now, it's like, what do we talk about? Same courses, same riders, same races, same dynamics, same sprint finishes. Sorry, Jackie.
Yeah, And like, that's kind of the thing, like in Jackie's race, is how many of those women actually have a chance to win? Like 5, maybe 10. But look at the Road World Championship. The road, the literal outside, the best women in the world. A math PhD, non-full-time racer won the world championships because of her guts, and she went for it, and it was one of the coolest things. Like, I'm getting goosebumps right now talking. Like, it was one of the coolest things. And credit to Jackie. You're a killer. Like, we've talked about that a million times. You are a killer, and you should win the majority of races.
Yeah, Jackie doesn't need a sprint to win either. We're just saying.
Right. But you should win the majority of races. But the women who get 40th should be able to think to themselves, you know what? I'm sick of Jackie kicking my butt in the sprint. I'm going to blast out from 15K to go and maybe it works, and maybe I get 30th again, but at least there's it. But right now, I mean, I was racing today, and it's like somebody blasts up a hill, and I'm just like, well, I'll just stay with the pack. We're gonna catch them later, you
Yep.
know. And
And I
that's
mean, this is actually one of the reasons I really liked RGT last year, was because there was that ability to break away, you know. And coming back to Zwift, I think I'm probably a little bit, definitely in the minority here in terms of saying I am getting to do more races, but I think that's just because I've transitioned from, really exclusively racing with the women's field to racing with men, where there's this much bigger power spread and, quite honestly, a different racing dynamic. Um, but yeah, I will say that is one thing I very much enjoyed about RGT. And when it came to the decision of, Mondays being a terrible day for Zwift Premier League aside, and that's not the rant I'm going to go on right now. When it came time to decide, I can really only prioritize this much racing this year with my schedule, which am I going to pick? For that reason, I ultimately did find RGT more enjoyable, because I think the physics they introduce with um, the mandated braking really, really just does bring sort of a more complex element to the races. So you see more variety, at least, in what you're doing.
yeah,
Teamwork, that's a big thing
That
that I
is
feel
also
like
the big thing. Yeah.
I don't want to be on Mount Pius as the road racing guy, but cycling is a team sport, like I know that because that's how it goes on the road. And Zwift right now, you can't really race as a team. We kind of like, posture about, oh, you can all go to the front at once. Oh, you can not pull, you can block. But like cycling is way more of a team sport than that. If I have Jackie in the race and then I have 5 women on another team that are 80% as good as Jackie, but they're together and Jackie solo, those women can win almost every time. Whereas on Zwift, they're screwed, man. They have no chance, right? Jackie can just mark, and if there's a blob, they'll catch. And so it's like, you just see the same people. Freddie Ovit's going to win every race, even though Canyon as a team was so much stronger than Legion last season. So much, like way better. They could not beat Freddie. Whereas on the road, Freddie would have been way out the back door and Canyon would have put the boots to them, which would have been good to watch, right? That's exciting when you see that strategy in action, and it opens things up. And like, maybe I hate to say it on the women's side, Heino would have still won every race, but at least it would have been
To
interesting.
Heino's credit, they did put together coherent team strategy in terms of timing the sprints together. And I think that was something they did very, very well, is realizing that you can use the team dynamics to pull more than one person across the sprint.
Yes.
So maybe not necessarily blocking other people or getting the breakaway, but saying, if we are all at the pointy end, like person 1 helps person 2 and 3.
And that shows the eagerness and the possibility of like when team opportunities are there, what can happen. Like they see a small section of the game where they can exploit it as a team, a strong team, and they do it. Whereas like in real cycling and on RGT as well, from what I've heard and everything, if you have a team, there are so many opportunities to race as a team, and it's so exciting. And so it'd be great to see that, because the best bike racers aren't just strong, they're smart too. Right. And it'd be great to see more of that. And it's great to talk about. So I think, I'll let Rick transition, but we'd like to talk about more racing that is more wide open, and maybe that's not on Zwift exclusively anymore.
yeah. And I mean, I'm always probably going to race on Zwift, right? But to what Jackie said, I mean, you hit it 100% on the head. Like, I'm working a lot. I have a family. I can race once or twice a week, right? I don't want to replay the same race once or twice a week every single time. So like, I want to be able to take a flyer from a kilometer out. Like, so I'm going to try RGT and I'm going to see if I like it. Like, I mean, I did the one where Tom Thrall walked me through it, which I never got to publish. Tom is a super cool guy for everyone who's listening. But it's like you only have so much time, and like I really like Zwift, and my favorite part of Zwift is the community. The community is amazing, but hearing Eric on our last episode, it really got me thinking, and like it made me take a step back and just kind of reconsider like what makes sense. And I can't plow 5, 6 hours a week into this, and not that I need to get something in return because I don't. And all the positive comments, all the positive feedback was so appreciative. Like I can't say enough about all the people who reached out. Like every single comment I tried to respond to because I was just so happy about it. But like Zwift has to be taking steps ahead in racing, or it's not gonna be the racing platform. I mean, that's the realistic thing. And I mean, maybe a little bit of a transition to Worlds. Like my understanding is Worlds is not going to be on Zwift.
Yeah. Well, and that's maybe a key thing too, is like my argument, because actually last season, in this time last year, Eric came to all the teams, the professional teams, and said, "We're starting this Echelon Racing League. Come on, it'll be on RGT." And like I resisted that, and I said, no, Zwift is the prime time, right? That's the product. They're taking it to the masses, and it's built already to be mass distributable, and it's exciting, and the event status is up here, right? Whereas RGT wasn't there yet. But that seems to be kind of evaporating over time as well, right? Worlds is not a priority apparently, because let's just be honest. If Zwift wanted Worlds, they could have it. They got the money, right? Money talks, and the UCI is a big fan of money, if you don't know. But they've obviously eschewed that, and maybe it'll be an RGT, and maybe that's for the best because they can have an actual Worlds course that's a real life course and have some more interest that way. Than going on the most basic course on Zwift as they did last year. But yeah, it seems like Zwift is kind of losing a little bit of that appeal. The Premier League packaging, like I haven't heard a lot about Premier League this time around. It doesn't seem to be big promotion. They haven't brought in the pros that they kind of thought they would, the World Tour guys' interest and stuff like that.
I mean,
so
I think in that regard, you were talking about, you were basically training and racing for 18 months, 2 years, and talking to, other racers who I've been close with, other racers who are on my team, like it's a really common story saying, I essentially had this super long indoor season and then I went straight into outdoors, and I need an off season. Like whether it's for mental recovery, whether it's to like recover from an injury, build up a good base again, or just, like Rick, like get the rest of my life sort of in order and refine the passion. And I think that's another part of it is Zwift is coming in right on the heels of outdoor season. Like there is no time to take a breath. And so any athletes that would come in, maybe week 2, week 3, week 4. And, RGT is sort of recognizing that and saying, hey, let's hold off. They actually pulled back the last week of the Echelon Racing Series a week to give more time for Worlds.
Nice.
So I think that's
it's a more compact product.
Recognizing sort of that virtual cycling, if it's going to exist as this very competitive, high level racing platform, needs to respect the other competitive cycling disciplines.
Here's a bit of research I did. I actually prepared for this show by going on Instagram. Lionel Vujasin, I saw posted that he is just getting back to racing. He was #1 in the world for a billion weeks, and his team won Premier League both seasons. And his post said something to the effect of, "Yeah, it completely blew up. Like he had the, maybe a chronic fatigue, overtraining at the very least, and had to take a bunch of time off. And he's just getting back to it now for the Premier League. And who knows if it's even time, right? He has an obligation to do it, but you can kind of feel the overwhelming, nature of it in that post that he had. And yeah, I could see why. Like I almost thought for a while, like those guys at the top are invincible, right? They can just do this and do this. But clearly not. He's maybe the epitome of what a Zwift racer is on the men's side, and he cracked. So
I mean, you see that from the Saris guys too a little bit. Like, I mean, I haven't talked to any of them, but it seems like they are not like had to take some downtime. I mean, Jackie would probably know, but like I'm just speculating. Like they're still all in the top 50, but like it just seems like that happened to a lot of people. I know it happened to me, and
yeah.
I mean, it's just difficult. Like, if there's not, because when you race, you want to come out with something, and admittedly, every race can't be great. you're going to have disappointments, you're going to have those failures. And I will fully admit, getting back into Zwift racing, I have been dropped in a whole lot of these mixed races. Holy God, I was regretting every kilogram I put on. But it does begin to build that sort of pressure in being indoors. At least when you're outdoors, you cross the finish line, you get sort of that like post race high, post race celebration, and when you're indoors, it's like, all right, I'm going to go to my kitchen now.
On to the next one. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is this sort of like, how do
the next race? Yeah.
How do we get that positive feedback? How do we retain that? And definitely just sort of the season that lasted a year was very, very difficult to sustain.
Yeah.
You didn't get the excitement anymore. It wasn't like, oh, this is the last race, and then I'm going to go like take a month off, eat a bunch of pie, whatever. It was like, rinse and repeat. So
yeah, that transition from season 1 to season 2 was very short, and that probably was a big reason why I wasn't interested anymore, because by the time I got to it, and then season 3 after that, those 3 back to back to back, done, right? Like, it's just, I just rage quit one of the Premier League races because it just, I was getting my teeth kicked in, and it was the 18th week in a row, so that's tough. And so maybe the formatting is a little more friendly on RGT, and be more exciting build up. Like, I like the fact that they're little distinct stage races, right? So we can build them up, analyze them, and there's multiple chances. You don't just have a one-off, and they favor different racers. I mean, Jackie still wins all of them, but at least there's in concept they can favor different racers.
Oh goodness, no. They definitely still do, and I think you'll at least like, Jordan, that they definitely have a lot of the longer stages that you were looking for.
Yeah.
Still not as long as, a real life road race, but there are definitely some
that would be pretty
plus cool. Crazy things.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, we don't have to go to the extreme, right? But it would be nice to play a little bit and see what happens after the 56-minute mark, which seems to be like the hard out for Zwift racing, right? It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to broadening our horizons a little bit and racing on some different platforms and just trying some different stuff. I think it's going to be really good and really fun, and ultimately there's going to be some racing platform that wins out for virtual cycling. And maybe two, but it's going to be whoever caters to the racers, because there's a lot of us who, what we care about is racing. I mean, that's like, I like the training side of Zwift, and it's fine, but just for scenery. But like, I got on Zwift to race, like, because I like racing and I want to, and that's why I do it. Like, if they didn't have racing on there, I would be in a lot worse shape.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how it grows and develops. I think there can be two. There can be a racers platform and everyone platform, and then maybe on the far left of the continuum, Peloton, right? And maybe Zwift is in the middle and RGT is over here. But like, I was thinking about that, Zwift is probably heading towards an IPO at some point, and maybe racing just isn't that marketable to the general investor. It's like a niche and not many people understand it, whereas fitness is infinitely marketable. So maybe we'll see it move towards that end, and then maybe once they go public and make $1 trillion, they'll bring back and get where we want. But we don't have to sit around and wait. We can try different things.
Yeah, I get the sense that Zwift is interested in maintaining its racing platform, mainly to continue to have a source of biking celebrities, to lead group rides and monetize. So I would not be surprised that they continue to hang on to Zwift Premier League, to continue to invite like real world cyclists, real world triathletes in, people whose names might recognize, because then, you get those fun community rides like, oh man, I get to ride with, any one of a number of friends on the show.
Yeah.
That's exciting. That's fun. That gets you there. And I think that feeds into that base. So I don't think Zwift will really ever give up that. I think there is a market for it. But I definitely think that their base, their key market platform, where they're getting their value is certainly from the fitness borderline Peloton side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be, I think my biggest disappointment, honestly, with all of it is that they didn't go the esports route and make celebrities of the people who were there. So
Right.
like Jackie and Yasin kind of they did. But like when I first joined Zwift, Greg Leo, Adam Zimmerman, Messineo, on the men's side, who was huge on the women's side then. I forget all the people who were, but like they were making celebrities out of these people and they were promoting those people. And when you go look at the course recons on the Zwift site, those are the people that wrote them. Matt Gardner was one of the big ones then. Like, well, it was really the whole like draft team. Oh, Claudia Baring. Because I remember
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
I raised Claudia Baring and I screenshotted myself next to her because she had the USA jersey. And I was like, I'd like posted it on Strava. And like that's what you want people doing, right? Like, and I'm really disappointed that they decided to go the way of like, hey, look, here's Justin Williams doing a ride with you where he may or may not show up. And this is what, and like,
Careful, there's a lawsuit in the mail already. You just said Zwift and Justin Williams. It's already in the mail.
are they like not associated anymore?
No, no, I just mean Zwift is a little litigious, and so is Legion of Los Angeles. So
Oh,
just,
wow.
folks, yeah. No,
No,
I agree on
they
I
seem
agree
like
100%, right? Like Justin Williams does not care about Zwift.
yeah, and
He does.
they seem
Yeah, I
like
know.
good people. Like I'm not,
Totally.
but like I would rather, for me, I want Holden and Lionel Vuyasin and
Totally.
all of those people to be the celebrities within our community, and Jackie and Christian Kolczynski and the killers on the virtual, because I don't care. I mean, it was awesome when Lauren Stevens was out there killing it on Zwift. That was super cool. And by all means promote that. But
Yeah.
don't promote Rohan Dennis. Like, oh, look,
Yeah.
Rohan. Oh, Rad, he came on one time.
Yeah. There's
I
a
don't
difference
care.
between World Tour pros that Zwift and World Tour pros on Zwift.
Yeah.
Right. Like we want the ones that Zwift that
Yeah.
actually do it. And yeah, so that's I don't know. I don't know if the broad appeal though, I bet they get more eyeballs when they bring in Rohan Dennis and Justin Williams, all right?
I'm sure they
Broadly.
do, but to me, that's short-term game.
Not
right?
grassroots, right? It's not a growth thing long
The
term.
long-term game is like look at like one of those big esports competitions, all the name like the Fortnite competition. I know the 16-year-old from Pennsylvania. I don't know his name. I don't really care about any of that stuff. But like go look at that event. There's just a bunch of nerds up there who are really good at gaming, and I love gaming and I'm a nerd, but like why can't it just be a bunch of skinny cycling nerds up there
All
for
right.
Zwift? Like it can be. Like
Yep.
you don't have to be a glitzy, glamorous world tour pro to be a celebrity. Because I bet you,
Yeah.
How many other than the tour and maybe the Vuelta and the
The Giro.
Giro, thank you. I don't know why it's escaping me. But like you take those out and like how many more individual viewings of these races were there than the Echelon League or the
Yeah.
first season of Premier League when they were getting 20-30,000 people?
Yeah, and it's it's more relatable product, right? Like a bunch of fat Belgian guys watch Paris-Roubaix on TV and they watch it, but they're not relating to the product the same way as Rick watching Jackie race on Zwift, and like you're a captive audience to that,
Yeah.
and you would be for this grassroots celebrity. Whereas like, yeah, Rohan Dennis comes on Zwift, it's like, I don't care, man. Like I know you.
I think you actually hit the nail on the head right there in terms of what special experience that Zwift and e-racing offers is because, when you watch these professional races on RGT, on Zwift, I'm never going to get to do Paris-Roubaix. Like, I'm never going to get to do Paris-Roubaix alongside these professionals, but I sure as hell, can go do that Zwift route. I sure as hell can do that same RGT competition. And hell, I could drop into a men's Cat A race on Zwift and race against the same guys doing that. And that's exciting.
Mhm.
You know, even if I get dropped, I get a sense of like exactly the sort of incredible power they're putting out. And I get that respect in terms of being, like, oh my goodness, like they're just animals powering up at like 600 watts up this hill. That's amazing. Or like, wow, that is a really long course. I'm so glad I'm only doing the first half.
Totally.
And that's something I've always really found important for me as a sports spectator is, really appreciating the level of effort and dedication that's going in. And I think that's something unique with esports, again, that, you can safely drop in. You don't have to buy an intercontinental plane ticket and find the exact course and close it off from cars. You can get that next level of appreciation. And I would really like to see more platforms continue to capitalize on that and continue to sort of use these leaders to pull more people in at the base and get them interested in the sport.
To me, the biggest mistake that happened with all this, from my personal perspective, and I mean, I'm not valued at $7 billion valued at. So
Yet.
yeah. But like once they
Hey,
aligned with the once they aligned with the UCI and the USAC and all the Zwift had their own national championships that they owned, that they controlled, that they could have, and now they don't have shit, right? Because they can't work it out with the organizations because the organizations want a bunch of
They just
money.
don't want to. I think that's the I think you gotta remember that Zwift can do whatever they want. They don't want to, right? They don't want to muck in that field. That's not where they're gonna make their money right now. So, we just as consumers, you gotta make your choice in what product is most appealing on which levels. And so we'll do that.
Yeah. All right.
Not
Yeah,
just
I think that's a good prompt to maybe move along. It's just yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways, we don't need to. I don't need to. But point is, we're going to be broadening our horizons. We're still going to talk about Zwift. We're still going to talk about ZRL. We're still going to talk about Premier League. We're gonna do all that stuff, but we're also going to talk about. So let's go into the other stuff, huh? You want to talk about ZRL first, or do we want to talk about RGT first?
Quick rundown. I mean, we covered a lot of the ZRL stuff already. I just had a few notes. We had these weird qualifiers. Like I kind of researched and had trouble getting a purchase on what was happening Premier League ZRL because we had two qualifying races for the ZRL, but not for the Premier League. So Premier League is a shorter season now, I guess 6 weeks. The qualifier races are done and dusted now.
Yeah.
So those
weren't
were
really for anything.
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about. We don't need to get in. It was points and, all sorts of spreadsheets and stuff. Boring. And boring courses too. It was just the Watopia reverse, figure eight reverse, and waistband for the time trial. So boring. But next week we have the McCurry Island, so that's new. That's exciting. And we have a couple new courses this time, which I think would be the Yorkshire one is now the Tewett Well. I don't know how to say that. And that's more hilly. Like that'll be interesting and dynamic. And then McCurry Countryside week 8 is where we could see the first bike changes in a ZRL Premier League, because it heads up that big dirt climb. So there's probably a real reason to do the bike change. And that is what the kind of thing we're looking for, right? Is some new interesting dynamics in the races that would only happen in virtual cycling. I mean, that's kind of what that is. So at least there's some stuff. My question was whether there's enough to keep it interesting, whether the general group will be. I would love to see the numbers season on season, who's in and who's not. I know my coaching clients probably 60% are headed back to the ZRL, like 3 out of 5. So not the same level of interest, but yeah, some interesting aspects, but overall nothing crazy.
Yeah, I will say at least from John's side and the community league that we follow in Chicago, they're having trouble like getting enough people to start the race, just because it's like, again, it's a commitment now that people are going back to work, now that,
Right.
the novelty has sort of worn off and like, oh, this is a one-time thing. Like, this is my only chance to really race at this level. And there are more opportunities, it's hard for us because we're on Pacific Standard Time, which aligns with absolutely nothing in the Zwift world. Oh my
God. I noticed that, yeah.
But it's this sort of sense of like, well, why am I married to this one? And they're just, I mean, even if you lose 1-2 people, suddenly your team is like, we don't have enough people to start. And that's incredibly disheartening.
Yeah.
So,
You wonder whether the team dynamic was only pandemic, like the pandemic supported that, whereas now maybe you can only get 2 or 3 people interested out of your friend group on Zwift to commit. Whereas before it's like, oh yeah, what else do I have to do, right? This is my social outing. I felt that way, right? Even as a professional cyclist, I felt it's like, oh yeah, this is one time a week where I'm going to get together with a bunch of people and chat and do something. Whereas it's like now, oh yeah, I can go out with my friends and do group rides. So yeah, maybe maybe they'll have to change that to a more smaller teams or even an individual format. I don't know.
I mean,
yeah.
So it goes back to what one of you said. There needs to be one ZRL season a year. It needs to be special. If there are 28, 24 races in a year, like nobody cares about them. Like that's the cool thing about Echelon, right? And like not getting paid by Echelon or anything, but like
yet.
Yes.
But like
those checks are going to start coming in one way or the other.
Yeah,
Zwift, Echelon.
Yeah, I'm not the one who joined the team, Jordan. But no, like it needs to be special. Anything you want to maintain momentum needs to be special. Like if they did 20 classics races a year for professional cyclists, everybody would be like, what the hell? No one would pay any attention to it. If they did,
no, you actually do see that. You do see that in real life because there are the monuments. There's 5 of them through the year. But there are a lot of little semi-classics. And at the beginning of the year, those little races, not little, but, not full-fledged, everybody's watching them. Whereas now they're happening every weekend in Italy and, warm places. Nobody's paying attention anymore, right? It fades. That's what natural. Yeah, there's probably a number there, right? In professional sports, like football has 17 weeks or 18 weeks. Hockey has a certain amount, maybe there's a number and we just went right over it with ZRL, right?
That's it. And so, I mean, the vast majority of people racing ZRL are people like me, like older people with kids who, because Zwift caters perfectly to us because we can hop on the bike, we can ride for an hour, we can get off, we can go up to the kitchen. It's not a thing. Like it takes me an hour 15 to do an hour workout. Like, yeah.
And that is exactly the reason for Zwift, like right there. And you can do the same thing to race. Like you hop on, you race, like you get that excitement, and then you go do the rest of your life because.
Whereas when they add these layers of complication, now we got qualifiers, ZRL, then playoffs. It's getting complicated, and like the different AutoCat and different. There's a lot of stuff in there that might take longer than an hour and 15 minutes.
And that's the thing is, I can talk to my wife, be like, hey, I can beg for my 8 weeks. I'm just kidding. She's fine with it, but when I'm like, hey, I got 8 weeks here, then I have 4 weeks off, then I have 8 weeks, then I have 4 weeks off, then I have 8 weeks, and it's like, do I want to, like, is that how I want to potentially piss my wife off at times, and then I'm a wreck for the rest. Like, if it's 8 weeks a year, I'm like, cool, let's do it. Like, I'm in. Like, that's what, like, again, going back to Echelon, they put it on Saturdays for a reason. I know traditionally bike racing on Saturdays. The reason it's traditionally on Saturdays is because that's when human beings can do it.
That's when you don't work. Yeah.
Like I can't, like Tuesday night is like Monday has to be horrible for you all. But like Tuesday night.
Yeah, Monday at noon.
Like, yeah, there's no time during Monday through Friday where I'm like, boy, do I got 3 empty hours right now. I wish I could fill it. Like Saturday mornings, or Saturdays, I don't have that either. But like, it's easy to I can carve out 3 hours on Saturday or an hour and a half or whatever it is, because I wake up at 6 on a Saturday. I have nothing to do the whole rest of the day. I can still, so it's just like, let's get realistic with what we're doing. So.
All right. Well, that's all I had on ZRL. We got the real races starting. I know these have been qualifiers, but the real races start next week. I'll watch them all, and we'll chat. And the Premier League will still be very watchable, I think. So we'll keep up with that.
And
And
we know who's going to win next. We know who's going to win for the women. So, well, I'm
well,
sorry.
Do
I
my
don't mean
best
that.
not to get this race canceled. How's that?
I know. And also, I shouldn't say stuff like that because it sounds bad to the other women who are amazing, unbelievable athletes. But Jackie's here.
yeah,
So we're going to
and
talk about Jackie that way. I mean, no disrespect to anyone. You all are amazing, unbelievable athletes, as is Jackie.
yes.
Also, shout out to Scott Pearson, who I've been trading messages with. We got to be friends through racing in the same league, which is the power of all this. It's cool. Like, you chat back and forth on Strava or whatever.
So I'm not racing. Jackie is racing one race. Are you racing ZRL, Rick?
In theory, I'm racing. If my legs were stronger, I'd race more.
Right.
No,
Well,
so I've lost. I mean, through all the job transitions and stuff, I was off the bike quite a bit, and I lost enough fitness where racing in the B division is very difficult. That's where my team is, and we recruited a bunch of killers. Yeah, we were like hardcore in the with funny season, whatever they call it. Silly season. It was silly season. We recruited some riders because we want to win the world championship this year. They're probably gonna be pissed I said that, but we're going for it, right? And so good stuff.
well, I guess that's if anybody had a doubt that Rick was a true B. That's how you know you're a true B is if you take some time off the bike and all of a sudden B gets very difficult.
Oh, yeah,
If you're just sandbagging, you'd be like, oh, whatever, I can still crush these guys.
yeah.
But
You can ask the riders on last weekend's Datter Day ride how much of a B I am when they drop my sorry ass up the KOM. I made it over the reverse KOM because it was a figure eight again. And I was like, if I can hang here, maybe I'll race. I got dropped. We started going up that KOM and I was off in the first 50 meters. I was just done. I was like, okay.
back to the drawing
Thanks
board.
for being honest about your weight.
Yes.
Yeah, I might be a kilogram low right now. That my, I got.
Yeah, I mean,
it depends
there's
on the M&M
fluid
consumption.
changes. Yeah.
Which
Yes.
I owe you, Jackie. Is it M&Ms I owe you that I need to send you?
Sure, I accept
No.
all forms of chocolate.
Okay. And I also owe you both a shirt, which I haven't sent out in the mail to anybody.
Oh, my address has changed now, so
All the shirts are sitting right here. I shove my junk from here to here where people can't see it. But for a while I had to step over it to even get out of this room. My wife was real thrilled with that. Now I just have it crammed against the wall.
That's commitment to procrastination is when you're stepping over stuff you should do and you still ignore it.
Yeah, well, I got all the shirts in January or February, so hardcore.
Oh, it'll be that much sweeter when I get mine.
Yeah, they'll be aged.
Yes, vintage.
Yeah, let's talk about RGT because I want to get into this. And I think in general, if there are other racing leagues going on, like I can't say I'm a virtual racing aficionado. I know there's Whoosh. I hear there's Be Cool. Anybody's on. I mean, Whoosh hosted some. But let's talk about RGT. Jordan, you're the Jordan and Jackie, you two are the experts. I know.
I would say I'm not yet an expert. I've been meaning to fire it up and get riding on it to test it out and do some preliminary racing. Have not done that yet. I've looked
at. You definitely need to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know.
Handle like Zwift. That was. I think USA qualifiers last year was when a lot of very, very strong riders suddenly discovered it was not at all like Zwift. And we lost him again.
Yeah, there he is.
Jordan, you need better internet.
Yeah, I was gonna
tell the hotel that.
I was gonna race
out there. I tried to open a window to pull up the echelon calendar, so that was my mistake.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking. I need to get on some races. The problem with RGT and the problem with it, right, is like most of the races don't have many people in it, and there are no categories. Which the people are like, oh, it's no problem because it's tactics. It's a problem if you're like max 3.6 guy right now. Like it's a problem if you're around with 4.5s with Jordan and Jackie's.
Well, Rick, I happen to know a community league team that is looking for for racers to join it, and they happen to have some 3-5 guys on
In
there who
Echelon?
love tactics and drafting.
In
Yep.
Echelon?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh
maybe.
yes.
I'm trying to pull my draft guys together to race Echelon, but if not, then I will do that. 'Cause I'm happy
Yeah.
to.
I was like, Triple X is actively recruiting, and I mean, that's how John got on the podium last year. That's how my coach Chris got on the podium. And I think you and Chris would have a lot of fun talking about how to best put out the least amount of power and draft off
Yeah,
of
that's
everyone
what
else
I
at
was gonna say.
35.
Just today, I raced the Oh My Crit double race, which is I still love. I will always love that race. And there was a guy I noticed who was super good at doing that. And I mean, I was getting pissed at him because he was always behind me, putting out slightly less watts than me. So I was getting mad because that should be me. And so I was like, hey, Cruz, I challenge you to see who has the lowest watts per kilogram. And so we were both from then on, but we had to finish in the lead back. So we were both like actively trying to ride as little as possible. He was super tucking on the Crit City course,
Right.
which
I
is
feel like Rick. I feel like that RGT is going to have so much potential for energy savings that maybe this is like if Mozart was like started on the xylophone as a kid and nobody knew how great he could be on the piano, and you're going to get on. RGT is the
Like,
piano
oh my
for you.
goodness, let me tell you how to corner.
so here's the thing about it. It's like I know like my Ned who's on the draft team, he just chimed in the chat. He said the physics is different than it was the last Echelon series, but Ned is really good at that. And like I want to try to get Johnny Rocket on there, who's Johnny Rocket is literally, I honestly think he's the best tactical Zwifter in the entire game. He wins a race
There's
going 3
so much more upside for you guys. I think you're going to be virtuoso once you get a hang of it. Yeah,
that's I'm
Rick
very
is-
excited.
I will say, as somebody who prides themselves on, sort of maximizing the draft by feel in Zwift, I'm very interested to see what you find of like the heads up watt saving display.
Oh, I love
Whether
it.
you think
No,
you
I
love
love
it?
it. I love it so much because Tom
it doesn't
walked me-
diminish the artistry.
No, Tom walked me through all this, and he's like, "Here's what when we did this crit race. I need to post. I should post it. I'll have to get it back because we were gonna do like a thing, and I got lazy and I didn't text him back, and like same thing with you, Jackie, except he didn't. He puts out like 1,500 watts or something, but I
My
just forgot to
God.
text him back, just like I forgot to text you back. But I saw that I was doing something, and I saw your text, and I was like, ugh. But anyways, okay. Yeah, so like it was really fun. Like the thing about all that is it's so fun to maximize like the edges of a game. Like I feel like I've done that in Zwift to a degree. I'm not quite there's still a 1% I want to try to get, but like that's what makes all this stuff really fun, I think. Is like
That's the fun part. Yeah.
and I was actually texting my buddy Jared, who's also very good at this sort of thing today, from the race, and I was like, there were people I beat in that race who finished in the same group as me who averaged 4.3, and I averaged 3.5, and I tied with that guy I was talking about. Both averaged 3.5, but like, so many people will spend months and months and months trying to get 10, 20 watts, and there's a hell of a lot of honor in that. Like, I also want to get the 10 to 20 watts. Don't get me wrong.
Not
like-
too many though. Not
But-
too many.
If I can upgrade to an A, I'll upgrade to an A. If my life will permit this in 7 hours a week as a 40-year-old, like not that skinny guy. But like you can, instead of spending months and months trying to get 10 to 20 watts, figure out how little energy you can just put out, and you can figure it out in a couple weeks, and you can get those 10 to 20 watts,
I think this is going to be a match made in heaven. I can foresee a meme, a Goodwill Hunting meme of Rick just saying, "You know how easy this is for me about RGT? Like we're all doing like 6 watts a kilo, and he's doing 3. You know how easy this is for me?"
That would be if I can get good at it, and then because I still want to. If I could set it up in Zwift, I would. But like me and Jackie, where she's on the mountain bike and I'm on a different bike in Crit City, the match race we were gonna do would be so fun.
Yes. Well,
if I can figure out how to get good at RGT and then race Jackie on a crit course, we will do that.
Well,
for
let's-
sure.
Who's actually
maybe we-
really, really good at it? Friend of the show, Laura Matson Co.
Is she?
She killed. Yeah. She killed when we were doing echelon last year. She would always have the lowest watts per kilo to stay with the pack and then sprint finish. And like there was one race where she won, and the whole time she was like, yeah, I was sick today. Like I was doing the minimum I had to do. And then she just sprinted to the finish, and she was so good at it. Like eventually I would just start looking for her and being like, all right, where is she in the pack? Because that's what I need to go.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like maybe everybody out, she's sitting in the back. You never see her take a pull at the front. And then because she's rested, she has the punch to do that 900-watt sprint.
So maybe we can wrap up with a little preview here. The first race on Echelon Racing League is the Indy Crit, December 4th, Saturday. And so I think that gives you time, Rick, to get in your best form or, up there anyway. And maybe you can master the game, and maybe we can see a grudge match there.
I get to race you, Jackie? Is it mixed?
It's not mixed.
Uh-oh. Okay, well, there's another...
I can race John. So...
Yeah. I mean,
he doesn't sprint. He doesn't sprint.
Okay, well, I particularly want to get beat by you, Jackie.
Okay.
I'll have to pick a different RGT race then. I will be racing RGT ahead of that.
Okay,
so we'll
figure out a time, and we'll have a grudge match. There's no grudge, but I just want to
give it a couple months, though. Give it a couple months of Jackie bragging about her, her wins, and maybe you can build one up. Well, maybe you could find it within yourself.
I need to get my 1100-watt sprint first of all.
Yeah, there you go. That's how you start it. Just get a little angry about that. Hold it inside really tight, and you'll get that grudge.
I wasn't annoyed by it but I legit, after that first week, I legit was like, I think I can win this. And then 1100 watts, I was like, nope.
No. I'll never see that. I'll never see that in my whole life. I'm 30 now. It's not getting any better.
I know. It's all downhill from there.
I'm 31. It does go up from 30. Oh. When I was 30, I hadn't broken 1,000 yet. I'm 31, and now I have.
I still don't know about that. Maybe. I don't know.
So are you a 90s kid? You're both 90s kids, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a 90s kid.
Just barely, both of us, but yeah.
Barely an 80s kid. I make fun of my wife because she's a couple years older than me, which technically puts her as Gen X, and I'm a millennial, which I make fun of her about.
You're a millennial?
I'm like the oldest. I'm like the oldest of the millennials. I'm like the guy with the cane,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous.
Okay, boomer. All right, yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's it for the show. We are going to be coming back. I promise it's not going to be 6 to 8 weeks. It should be next week. I think, Jackie, you said you were good.
Next week.
I should be good for next week, but we're going to be back. We're going to be talking about all sorts of virtual racing. We would love to hear your what you all want to talk about, because we are here for everybody. So, Jackie, why don't you do your outro? Jordan, you do your outro. And go ahead, Jackie.
So I still race for Ceres and Triple X, sponsored by Noon. Believe me, holy God, do I go through it out here in Southern California? I'm up to like 2 tubes a week of this stuff. And I am a medical doctor. So keep on going. Life doesn't end at 30, no matter what Jordan tells you.
All right. Well, I'm still on Elevate Webplex, so another couple months there. We'll give the sponsors their due. And it is a good time to get a coach if you're interested in 2022 cycling. So peakformcoaching.com. It's still there, and it might now be an international entity. So that's a step up. Yeah, peakformcoaching.com. Got a couple slots open. I'm like 18 out of 20 right now. So if you're interested, hit me up. And looking forward to a good new season of Outside the Draft.
Love it. Best coach in the business. Thank you both for coming on. We'll see you next time.